Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Alexandra Sawyer with Guidehouse, and today I have this pleasure of speaking with Meera Dugar from JPMorganChase. And so a little bit of a two-part question here. So what challenges, and I think maybe in some of your other conversations you've talked about this, what challenges are data officers and those managing data? How are they, what are they facing? And really, how are they trying to tackle them? I mean, we see cyber risks and, all kinds of trust in the customer experience and making sure that's good. So talk to me a little bit about, those challenges and how are they tackling? Like, what are you hearing people talk about?
Yeah, so you have your very challenges as leaders. You're starting to make sure that you create that environment, you create that culture within the firm. And how do you do that, right? There are different ideas thrown out as let's start some webinars, let's start some lunch and learns, brown bag sessions, and let's bring about external AI experts, right? Those are some of the varied ways of just being, bringing that awareness, bringing that culture of saying, yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. And actually, everyone does, right? This is a new tool, the new shiny tool that's being provided to us, or we're trying to figure it out. But at the same time, how do you make each one of us within, top-down approach of providing the knowledge, providing the real use cases that can be set up as those patterned, those architectural patterns that we go after, saying, hey, by the way, we've created such and such model, such and such bot, and let's go start using it. Let's go see the adoption of it and provide the customer the first level of experience. And we learn and we get feedback and we prompt them and we get that human loop and human feedback loop in play with the results, so that now we're creating the knowledge base to be much stronger. Now
Right.
we're making sure the responses are not false positives, right?
Right.
We're now creating that culture. We're overcoming the challenge that was there in the past. That is the data accurate? Is there hallucination involved? Where you've seen examples of OpenAI take out chatbot from the market, right? In the
Right.
past.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that was the best thing that happened, because we felt that the people that are putting together these chatbots are actually taking ownership. And you
Yeah.
feel that level of satisfaction. Oh my goodness. If they take that level of ownership, I do too.
Do the same.
Right?
Yeah,
I
for
do the
sure.
same.
For sure. I know you're at JP Morgan Chase. I also work at Guidehouse with a number of financial institutions, and there's no lack of regulatory privacy
Mhm.
regulation out there, right? And risk, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me, how do we kind of marry up and manage that risk, that regulatory risk, with balancing all of the things that we can do with all the data and some of the tools that you've kind of talked about? How are you seeing people balance, that regulatory side and the risks and all of those things with, moving the needle forward?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go back to one of the statements that I had said earlier. It's more about making sure that your data is siloed, making sure that it's containerized, making sure that the security is pretty much very solid, making sure that the data leakage is not there, right? So when I'm providing those prompts and saying, hey, by the way, here's the here's the recommended index stock that'll provide you that 40% rate of return, and my customer jumps on that, I'm making sure that they're not going after the pump and dump strategies, which would be
Yeah.
with fraud. I'd say that 3 times over, fraud with fraud. But just with that kind of risk averse kind of setup, right? You're kind of making sure that your customer understands what you're doing. That transparency is in play. Making sure that those bill of rights that are being set up for AI are now front and center, so that the customer feels the trust that we just spoke about, that partnership
Right.
that gets that much stronger, right? So
Yeah.
with those kind of steps, I think that's where we have to be very, very, very cognizant of the customer, making sure we're doing the right things. And at the same time, we're providing the services, we're providing the value behind AI, right? It's more
Mhm.
about that value creation all the time. You're creating a value that's not been given in the past. And
Right.
you
Right.
start smarting up those models. So when you started with that simplistic model, now you provide him with the workflow of going to a smarter model based on the filters and prompts and the responses. You jump to the next model, which is your next level of SME, right? Think of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
workflow that's in play, but that's a chatbot to chatbot to
Chatbot. Yeah. It's a
chatbot.
chatbot.
Ah,
Yep. To keep going.
then you're
Yeah.
filtering it so that you get that right response to your customer. And you're
Yeah.
saying, wow, this is what I wanted from Gen AI, sorry.
Hmm.
And that's where, the bulb goes off and it's that aha moment.
So before we wrap up, one quick question, and maybe it's hopefully it's an easy one. What top trends would you say we should be looking out for?
Sure. Yeah. The top trends are definitely creating that AI friendly culture, right? Make sure you've got your SMEs working at it. Make sure you've got your newsletters, journals. Um, I think there's a Michael Prash book out there called The Secrets of AI. And that mentions Think by IBM, right? They create these journals. Dell Magazine creates IQ. So I think those are the kind of areas where you can get your nuggets. You can start learning from the community, right? And create your own learnings within your own space, within your own domain, right? That's where the magic lies. Knowing your data, knowing that how can you identify those accurate use cases? Those are the trends that we have to go after in terms of let's identify use cases that make the most sense, that give us the best rate of return, that provide the most value. And I think behind the scenes, if you dig deeper into the technology, it's keeping your schemas accurate, making sure you can use clustering to get the accuracy in your responses. You get your good answer, the known good answer, versus obviously you don't want the other
Yeah.
kind. And then
Right.
authentication, memory usage, right? Memory is a big part of LLMs because they're so memory heavy, right? You got to
Right.
have your GPUs in place. There's a reason why NVIDIA stock went crazy nuts 2 days ago, right? So that 10-1 split that NVIDIA went through. So just things like that will provide you that I think those are the trends that people are seeking in terms of making sure that, hey, how can I hone down on the infrastructure? How can I
Mhm.
hone down on the models? How can I hone down on getting the right responses? How can I hone down on making sure my knowledge base is intact? What are the use cases? Are they test use cases, right? Can I use it for testing that happened manually back in the day? And, you had coders
Yeah.
putting together test cases after test case. Now you can automate that.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a lot
that's
easier now.
phenomenal, right? I mean, think
Right.
about documentation that we looked through several pages and your eyes started, smarting up and things like that before you came to the actual page you were looking for. Now AI does it within seconds.
Second. Yeah.
Within seconds. I heard of a trend like Walgreens is using it for their pills. So just the supply chain of pills, providing the customer with the right dosage and the right medicines at the right time. It's so critical. So you are going for those real life situations, those critical setups, and making sure you're finding solutions that are very meaningful at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah, I mean, it really is about, there's so many possibilities that really seem possible now, whereas people
Exactly.
dreamed about things and now there is so much that is so possible. Well, Meera, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. And for the listeners, if you are interested in other additional interviews, please feel free to visit cdomagazine.tech. Thanks again, Meera.
Thanks, Alexandra.